Okay, so before we get started, I need to get something clear. I've never played The Cult of the Lamb. So what am I doing reviewing the comic book adaptation? Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, there was a comic book adaptation of Cult of the Lamb. I've been meaning to play it. I haven't got around to it. And two, I think there's some merit into reviewing material without having the experience of the parent franchise. I do know what it is like, though. So I don't know. Maybe that totally throws it off. The book opens up with the titular lamb being led to death. I think that's one of the funnier things about this book, the very adorable art style contrasted with the honestly quite brutal subject matter. The reason for the lamb being sacrificed is because the lamb is a heretic to these five spooky dudes. And there's a bit of a prophecy associated with the lamb. We all know from mythology and fantasy, the one thing you want to do is when somebody is prophesied to be your eventual downfall is to immediately make an enemy of them and try and kill them. That never backfires. That never, ever backfires. It backfires because after they execute the lamb meets another chained up god who's the lamb with unspeakable power in exchange for the lamb starting a cult based around this figure. So the lamb returns to the world of the living and cuts a bloody swath of vengeance. Actually, there's a little bit of interesting world building with the hooded guys that are assigned to clean up the lamb's death before the lamb returns to Earth, or whatever planet this may be, where this hooded guy here talks about buying a fishing boat. And the reason he wants it is because now that all the heretics are dead, he's hoping the fish will return, because apparently there's been this huge, terrible blight going on. So the worst year to be alive in human history was the year 536 AD. Possibly 535 AD. A massive volcanic eruption in Iceland happened, and it muffled the sun. There were no shadows in the afternoon. Everything was cold. This caused a massive plague throughout the world. People starved, and violence erupted. I bring this up because that's what this reminds me of. And I bring that up to say, this world is violent and terrible because everybody's scared and hungry. I like that as an idea. I never liked stories where everything is dark and violent and everybody's a cruel sociopath for no reason. AKA every world Mark Miller writes. Okay, to be fair, I do kind of like Garth Ennis, and yeah, you could paint him with the same brush. Anyways, the lamb escapes and cuts a swath of destruction through the forest, where the lamb encounters a fellow heretic believer who wants the lamb to officially start the cult that the god instructed the lamb to do. And yes, the lamb did promise an infinitely powerful god that they would do that, but also the lamb doesn't really want to do that. The lamb wants to go on a swath of revenge and doesn't have time for other people. The lamb doesn't really care about it, even when reminded of their promise. But they do encounter two cultists trying to sacrifice a bunny, and the lamb, who's still in murder, vengeance, kill the whole world mode, decides to murder the sacrificer and save the bunny. And then the follower bites the bunny in a process I'm still kind of confused by, honestly. I'm sure this is a game mechanic. Okay, I just reread the section a little bit. Now, a competent reviewer who wants to look cool in front of his audience would just cut out the part where they were confused, but I'm going to leave it in. So the heretic who owns this land transports bunny and lamb with magic powers. Okay, that makes sense. Part of the reason I'm leaving in me being confused is I'm going to throw a bit of criticism. That wasn't super well explained. I'm sure it makes sense to the people who've played the game, but I'm going to throw this out there. This is actually a pretty decent comic, and that was the only time I was kind of confused. So probably nobody else was, but this is honest reactions, and we're just going to do that. So the heretic, the guy in the crown, still wants the lamb to lead the cult, and the lamb is still very bored, is not interested in doing any of that cult stuff, and would rather just hang out and eat berries, and I totally get that. I've been there. The rabbit shares with the lamb a carving that they made for the lamb. The heretic grumbles about how maybe the lamb shouldn't have got the crown. Bunny gives the lamb a carving that the bunny made for the lamb. I don't know if I've brought this up yet, but I think the art is really good and pretty cute. I really like this moment right here. I think that good art. The lamb from the carving receives a vision about how they need to free them all. Then we see another unstoppable god prophesizing about the lamb. For a person whose only experience has seen somebody play this on Twitch and watch one online parody, I liked it. I feel with adaptations like these, if you can say, yeah, I followed the story and I found it compelling, and it works as an adaptation.